And we're here with Derek with H&D Reptiles. So whenever we were walking around, my girlfriend actually talked to me about the fact that you guys happen to be affiliates with Husbandry Pro, which is a really cool app. Other than that, we'll talk about that in a second. What have you guys brought to the actual convention?
So we're ball python breeders. So we bought kind of a menagerie collection. We do a lot with Xanthic, SK Xanthic. We're working with the Mandarin project, which is this one right here. And then yeah, those would be probably our two focal points as far as our animals here today. It's one of those you always kind of float around how many projects you're going to work, what projects you're going to work, what avenue you're going to go with those projects. So it's a very fluid system, and 3 months from now we might change that.
Gotcha.
You know, so,
do you have any plans for the future of what you're kind of wanting to go into, maybe?
Ball python wise, we've got some stuff on the horizon. We're obviously working desert ghost hypo stuff. Mandarin we're going to go heavier in. Xanthic, we're going to be doing Xanthic clown, desert ghost hypo stuff. We are actually going to be breeding trident clowns this coming year, so that will be another focal point for us. But then we are thinking eventually about branching into other species because we just love animals.
Oh yeah.
So the future's always unchanged, or is always changing, let me say it that way.
Oh, I very much agree. And there's just been so much change. And speaking of, whenever it comes to new breeders or people just in general that like to be very organized, both me and my girlfriend try to be very organized with our stuff. You guys have been working with Husbandry Pro. We actually got the Pro membership. We really like it so far. And it's been helpful, like chatting with people about it. And I guess with Husbandry Pro in general, what I guess separates it from some of the other apps that you see that are trying to help people keep in touch?
What I think Husbandry Pro brings to the table versus the competitors is a all-in-one stop for not just ball pythons, for every species that reptile and amphibian related, and invertebrates. The constant evolution that the team brings to the table constantly steps the plateau up to the next level. You know, where it was bare bones when it first started and it was just intended to be a data collection, to now you have full access to business management tools. You have full access to complete customization of everything in it to make it suited for you. You know, if you have a species that brumates, you can do it. You can turn it off if you don't. But then the fluidity, you take someone like me, I was using 2 spreadsheets with about 54 tabs on it. I don't do that anymore because everything's in one place with QR code scanning for everything I need to do. It also helps because you can go back and look at everything you've done for the past 3 years from a breeding standpoint and go, okay, we did this, this, and this with this project. Well, now we need to delineate somewhere and go somewhere else with it.
Yeah.
So having everything just right at your fingertips, and it's not convoluted. It's not like you have to go through multiple menus and you're still not where you need to be. So the user-friendly and user-forward thinking of the team and the program, I think, is what will ultimately set it apart from everything.
I agree. Whenever I first used it, I felt like it's a bit overwhelming at first, but like it's very intuitive, which I would rather have something be a little overwhelming at first, but I'm able to pick up on it quick than doing the game of, okay, how do I get to X, Y, or Z? It's always a big problem.
Well, and that was just it. And I've got a lot of people that have done the whole, well, there's a lot to do right up front, and you can import spreadsheets and fine tune it. But yeah, once you get past that hiccup point, and then it's all of a sudden just, it's fluid. It's just instantaneous almost. You know, we've got a collection of 150 plus animals, and what used to spend 4 hours doing with a spreadsheet and data collection, I'm now doing in an hour because I'm QR scanning everything for it. Whether it was feedings, whether it was defecations, breedings, or refusal of food, you name it, it's just done.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. One more question I want to ask
Yeah.
you. So, last 5 years, there's been a lot of changes in the world in general. We had COVID, we've had just a bunch of different things, but the reptile industry as a whole has been growing very fast paced,
yeah.
in my opinion. We've seen a lot of growth both monetarily, but then also people that are just getting into it. There's talks that Gen Z in the next year or so, we're going to be over 30% owning a reptile.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you see the community as a whole kind of going? Maybe like specific types of reptiles, or how do you think it's going to adjust to this influx?
I think we're going to see two things. I think we're going to see more growth into bioactive, but not just putting them in a terrarium with what needs they have. You're going to see more of an artistic bioactive going in, taking old dressers and repurposing them into these beautiful pieces of art to display beautiful animals. I think you're going to see a lot more animal-centric approaches to things. But then from just the market in itself, I think you're going to start seeing a lot more accessibility to species that aren't readily available right now. There are some amazing importers right now that are bringing in species that we haven't seen stateside in numerous years that are now becoming accessible to everybody, especially newer keepers or younger keepers. Now, well, I don't want to say younger keepers, just newer keepers, because you can be 60 years old and still be a newer keeper. So I think it's kind of a twofold. You're going to see growth in that aspect of it, which will hopefully snowball into the political side of it to get governments, local municipalities, and federal to understand that the animals we keep aren't detrimental. They're a great aspect just for life in general. And I think we're going to start seeing more positive movement in that way as long as we have a very sound voice in the next generation of keepers.
That is a good point. Building off of that, I do have one more question. We've had, in the last couple of years, a big one in the reptile community was the Lacey Act that everybody was really, really worried about. And just in the general, there's always the worry, both local, state, or federal, that they're going to try to put restrictions, bans, laws. Do you have any worry in the future of that, or do you feel like the more that we grow, and I feel like in general, when you look at other communities, the reptile community is a pretty overall ethical group that doesn't need as much regulation. Do you have any worries as like somebody that's in the industry that you're keeping an eye out for?
I don't think there's worry, because it comes back to a key thing is education. Getting people to understand the species. Knowledge is going to always move us forward. People who don't understand our species will be able to always help push it forward, to have a voice to make sure people understand that this animal's not going to get 42 feet long and try and size you up. All the nomenclature
it's not
or
poisonous,
misnomers,
it's
all of that stuff. I think as long as we put more positive forward versus negative and have very good conversations internally and on the local government side to get people to understand, do outreach programs, do school programs, just get knowledge out there, and we won't have a problem.
Okay, well, thank you again for doing
Absolutely.
this interview. This was great.
It was great chatting with you.
Yeah.